How's everybody doing? Welcome to Wednesday Bible Study. I just want y'all to know that as we get further on in Daniel, it gets very complicated for me. It's the king of the north and the king of the south, and there's so many back and forths. It's very different than what we're reading about now, because right now we're still reading actually about Daniel himself. So, and Corinthians, there's nothing very exciting going on right now. Paul is just talking about kind of daily life and talking about giving, and it's pretty simple stuff. So we just try to take, everything that we're seeing and just try to make it very teachable. But I'm warning you in advance, when I get further along in Daniel, then I get back to Daniel 12, easy to understand. I like Daniel 7, Daniel 8. Those are the Antichrist, the little horn, actually about Donald Trump. So that should be pretty exciting when we get into that. But I forget what 9, 10, and 11, or at least 10 and 11, get very, very tough for me. And when you Google them and look at commentaries, they're all over the place. One person's telling you this, one person's telling you that. And I don't really get any spiritual revelation off what I'm reading. You do understand toward the end that it is talking about the Antichrist. But I think, and we'll look at it, and if you want to read, I think it's 10 and 11 ahead, feel free to. But I think what we're looking at are things that might be taking place when World War III is taking place, and we're not going to have TV sets to follow all this. I'm just scanning through it right now. Shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. Yeah, that's 9. So a lot of that we will be able to understand as the Antichrist. Again, 7, 8, 9, Antichrist. Now you're getting into Daniel's vision. And 9 might also be of a vision. Then we get into Daniel 11, and that's the really tough one. Also in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. Now I will show thee the truth. There shall stand up 3 kings in Persia. So this is when it gets very difficult. And it's a lot. So if y'all want to read ahead, if y'all want to do your own research in your own time, if you have downtime, but it's the king of the north and the king of the south, back and forth. King of the north, king of the south, back and forth, back and forth. And it's 45 verses. So it's a lot. So, but anyway, let's continue with today's reading. Daniel 6. So we are wrapping up. Daniel was thrown into the lions. Daniel survived the lions. And, also, just don't ever reply back on the, if you want to leave a, like a thumbs up on the commentary or something that's done. Where are we at? Is that us right there? Just to save space and everybody can follow, I wouldn't put thumbs up there. If you ever want to put a thumbs up on a post, you know how you can click the post itself. But there's no need, only because it'll push everything else further back. Any Bible study video that I make, or any YouTube video I make, I'm about to make a few soon, I hope. And all the Bible studies are just going to be stacked. And that way people can find one after the other. And hopefully I labeled it last night. I did not. I just gave you the link. I wish there was a way I can label that. Maybe underneath it, I will put an arrow pointing to it and tell you which day it is. That's what I'll do. So, but if, as long as you just don't reply back, and Faith, I know you didn't know that, and Renee, and Amy Theist. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. No reason, and I appreciate the thumbs up. I do. But just so things won't get buried. But if y'all ever have any questions for me, just fire away individually, not on here, but just shoot me one individually. And if I need to be corrected on something, or I didn't teach something properly, or you found a better way to teach it, I will share that in the next Bible study. All right, so anyway, here we go. And the king commanded, and they that brought those men which had accused Daniel. So now all of those leaders, they're about to get theirs. And they cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, their wives, and the lions had the mastery of them, and break all their bones in pieces, or ever they came at the bottom of the den. I don't even need to read that in the New Living to make it more understandable. You just know. That's the poetic of the king's English back then. Because Darius loved Daniel. He really appreciated Daniel. And I don't know if it ever states that Darius also was saved. I don't think he was, but anyway, let's continue. Then King Darius wrote unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in the earth, peace be multiplied unto you, and I make a decree. Remember, when they make a decree, it sticks. That in every dominion of my kingdom, men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. Well, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Maybe he was. I don't know. I can't help but feel they continue to serve, the polytheism, but maybe Darius did not. For he is the living God and steadfast forever, in his kingdom which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall not be even unto the end. I don't know, y'all. It sounds like he's saved, doesn't it? It sounds like he got the truth. The fact that he did not change all of Babylon into this one obvious religion was not meant to be. But Darius sure sounds like he might be saved. What do you think? And obviously, we can't make these judgment calls. We can't help but feel Nebuchadnezzar was, again, because of the way that he actually wrote his own epistle in chapter 4. That was him writing it. He delivereth and rescueth, and he worketh signs and wonders in heaven and in the earth. And who have delivered Daniel from the power of the lions? So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. The Medes and the Persians, they were a combination. So it was Babylon, and they were taken over by the Medes and the Persians. They were like a two-headed snake, so to speak. But Darius and Cyrus, is that the same Cyrus they compared Trump to? That I think later built a temple in Israel? Maybe so. Be something for y'all to research for me. So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian, the Medes and the Persians. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon. Now see, this is going back. Remember, Belshazzar was overtaken by the Medes and the Persians, but now we're backtracking. We're going back before the Medes and the Persians. We're going back to straight up Babylon and Nebuchadnezzar's son, Belshazzar, who had the writing on the wall vision, or excuse me, saw the writing on the wall, and his knees were knocking. Okay. The first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. This is about the Antichrist now. This is Daniel 7. Daniel 7 is about Trump. And I believe so is 8, and a little harder to understand. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed, and he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven strove up upon the great sea. Folks, that's what's taking place right now. That's what's taking place right now. And remember, Trump is the beast out of the sea. So I can't help but feel that in Revelation 13, whoa, that's a lot of scrolling. In Revelation 13, which is totally, and by the way, Daniel 7 and Revelation 13, both about Trump, both about the Antichrist, both say made war with the saints. So these are very tightly correlated chapters. And there is, I don't know if it's coincidence, but the 4 winds of heaven strove upon a great sea. Is that why he is the beast out of the sea, so to speak? And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And when we get back to Revelation, we will really explain these 7 heads. Are Trump is the 7th head, the previous 6 heads, if I'm not mistaken. Hang on just a second, I'll bring it up for you. These are the 7 heads. It's the 7 leader. And remember, Donald Trump did the commercial. Napoleon, Alexander the Great, and Donald Trump were all cut from the same cloth. Yeah. And then you get into the 7th, and then he is even the 8th in Revelation 17. So I believe that is why I think that's what that is. And there are 7 kings having 7 heads. The 7 heads are the 7 kings. And the 10 horns, not sure. Are there 10 mentioned over here? Let's just stay focused on this. I think that says there are 10 kingdoms or something like that. And upon his horns, 10 crowns, and upon his heads, the name of blasphemy. Because remember, Donald Trump said, I'll find that commercial for you. I don't want to get a copyright strike, so I don't know how much I'm going to let play at a time. I think up to 7 seconds is your max.
Napoleon, Alexander the Great.
Napoleon, Alexander the Great.
Donald Trump. We're all cut from the same cloth.
All cut from the same cloth because they are the 7 heads.
And that cloth is very, very large.
That cloth is very, very large. What kind of cloth is it? Are y'all digging this? Seriously. And there are 7 kings. That's all from my previous video I did on YouTube. Napoleon, Alexander the Great, Donald Trump were all cut from the same cloth. This is Darius III. Not sure if that's the same Darius, but Nebuchadnezzar saved. The rest were not. There are 7 kings. See, that's what they are. They're 7 kings. And the beast which I saw, like unto a leopard, in his feet, the feet of a bear, in his mouth, the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power and seat his great authority. And I saw one of his heads as if it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all wondered after the beast. This is what must be taking place before the mark of the beast. So if they just spring up with a vaccine and quit telling me that's the mark of the beast. Quit telling me it's going to change your DNA with fallen angel blood. It's crazy stuff you ever heard in your life. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen. One is, and the other is not yet come. There are 7 kings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5 are fallen. 1, 2, 3. Whoops. What happened? Maybe I touched something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 are dead, and they're goats. He's not fallen because he's sheep. Let's continue. Five are fallen. One is, that's Trump right now, and the other is not yet come. That's Trump when he returns. And when he cometh, he must continue for a short space. So when Trump returns, seemingly alive from the deadly wound by the sword, but did live, which is stated in Revelation 13:3, 13:12, whose deadly wound was healed, and 13:14, the beast which had a wound by the sword and did live. When he returns, and it's mark of the beast time, it's a very short space after that. Because they're going to be able to be killing Christians very quickly, because people are going to be taking the mark, they're going to be uploaded with demons, and they're going to be able to go after the Christians very easily. And Jesus said he cuts the time short, or no Christian elect flesh would be saved. So it's a short, it's a short space. And the beast that was Trump before he died, where he was because the clone is assassinated, and is not, then he disappears. Even he is the 8th, because he returns upon the stage, and is of the 7. Yes, he's the 7th, and goeth into perdition. Yes, after he dies, he will go into perdition. He will be hidden. He will be orchestrating everything, just like they told you in the that last Star Wars. The Emperor is alive. They were like, how could that be? He's dead. And they're like, cloning. The Siths knew how to do it. Dark sciences. In the movie The Prestige, cloning. So they've told you that it's done by cloning, and it's the clone that will take the hit. So what's my point? Or am I able to wrap this up, I guess is what I'm saying. Oh, and the 10 horns, which thou sawest, are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as of yet, but receive power. And they've said they've divided this world up into 10 United Nation quadrants, or well, not quadrants, but 10 states or landmass, you know. The word's escaping me right now. All right, but you get the idea. So anyway, we'll continue with the Bible study. I mean, you take you down that road. Did we finish up with Daniel? We did. That's what began this conversation, the sea. All right, let's continue on in 2 Corinthians, please. As the scriptures say, those who gathered, a lot had nothing left. All right, sorry, I had to change the laundry. As the scriptures say, those who gathered, a lot had nothing left over. And those who gathered only a little had enough. So that was talking about giving. Remember at the end when we closed out yesterday, sheep give to sheep. Bad as it sounds, that's what it is. The world will take care of its own. Jesus is the God of the living, not the dead. There's a lot of ways to look at that verse or that statement. Once they're dead, their fate is sealed and they're asleep. That's one, because you're not with the Lord when you die. Willing rather is how that verse goes. Willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord. It's 5:8. Willing rather. In other words, it's what I'd rather be. I'd rather be out of this body and be with the Lord. Now, what will it seem like when we die and then are awakened? It'll seem like an absolute. I mean, have you ever gone to bed, didn't dream, or you whatever? You just wake up, you're like, wow, that was 8 hours. Where'd that time go? Doesn't seem like it went anywhere. So it's not to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. It's we are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord. Because you're asleep. What made me bring that up? Because, yeah, Jesus, the God of the living. That's what we're talking about. How does that verse go exactly? Since I quoted it, might as well get it right. I am the God of the living, not the God of the dead. I'm not sure if that's exactly how it's said. I hope I didn't butcher it too bad. Bible Gateway, they give it to us. They sure do, so that's good. We'll take it over to the King James just the same. Is King James perfect? Absolutely not, but it's the one I'm most familiar with, and I trust it. I know the ins and outs of it, like John 3:16, falsely translated. That's okay. Through spiritual discernment, we figured out. I'm going to do a very detailed YouTube Bible study on the two different layers that the Bible is written. There's the metaphysical and the cognitive. There's the spiritual way to understand it versus the fleshly way to understand it. And that's because Jesus spoke in parables, and Jesus is the Word. So the Word is basically a parable. That's why it has its glitches. It says he is. I'd like to get a few verses above and below it. How about that? Just for contrast. But are as angels with him in heaven, and as touching the dead, that they rise. Have not yet read in the book of Moses how in the bush God spake unto them, saying, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. That's how I like to refer to God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. Ye therefore do greatly err. That's talking, I think that's where they're asking him, out of the 7 men, the brothers, the guy dies and leaves the wife to the brother, then the next brother, who will they be with in heaven? I think that's what that passage is about. I think. Yep. And the 7th had her and left no seed, blah, blah, blah. So it goes through that. So he is the God of the dead. He is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. And one of the scribes came, having heard them reasoning together and perceiving that he had answered them well, asked him, which is the first commandment? Okay. So what does it mean when he says he's the God of the dead? I don't know. Message me with your opinions, not on the thread, but just individually. Just message me individually. He's the God of the sheep, not the goats. or once we are alive with him, when we are living with him, we will no longer care about being married. And we're in these dead bodies now, so marriage seems like something that's important. But it's very deep. I don't know. There's a lot of abstract ways to look at that, and I apologize for having no answer for you. I wouldn't trust Bible commentaries. I look at Bible commentaries like at Bible Hub to see what they say. But don't just go with what they say. Let the Spirit speak to you. But let's wrap this up. As the scriptures say, those who gathered had a lot. Those who gathered a lot had nothing left over, and those who gathered only a little had enough. So that was just finishing off the previous day's study about giving. Titus and his companions, but thank God he has given Titus the same enthusiasm for you that I have. Titus welcomed our request that he visit you again. In fact, he himself was very eager to go and see you. We are also sending another brother with Titus. All the churches praise him as a preacher of the good news. He was appointed by the churches to accompany us. We take the offering to Jerusalem, a service that glorifies the Lord and shows our eagerness to help. We are traveling together to guard against any criticism for the way we are handling this generous gift. We are careful to be honorable before the Lord, but we also want everyone else to see that we are honorable. Notice how tedious this is. They're still talking about taking up the offering and going to help the poor. Taking the offering from church members and giving it to poor church members. Not just poor people, but the church. Again, if you didn't catch yesterday's, when it speaks about visiting widows, checking in on widows, visiting those in jail, it's talking about sheep. Some sheep are thrown in jail because of their beliefs. Go visit them. If they ever arrest me for everything I'm doing, don't believe the charge. I can tell you that. Visit me. You know what I mean? So that's what it's talking about. It doesn't mean just go visit people in jail. Now, if they're sheep, some people go to jail and they turn to the Lord. If you know them, you correspond with them, and they're accepting to what you're saying, stay in touch with them. Go visit them. Take care of them. So, anyway. We are traveling together to guard against... Okay, I read that, sorry. 2 more to go. We are also sending with them another of our brothers who has proven himself many times and has shown on many occasions how eager he is, and is now even more enthusiastic because of this great confidence in you. If anyone asks about Titus, say that he is my partner who works with me to help you. And the brothers with him have been sent by the churches, and they bring honor to Christ. So again, it's always about true sheep helping true sheep. And new sheep are coming along and coming into the church. Sheep are born lost, but they're born sheep. Goats are born goats. You can't tell the difference between a lost sheep and a goat. But once you give them the truth, it says after the second admonition, send them on their way. Or at least you go on your way. Clean the dust off of your sandals and get moving after the second admonition. If y'all want to leave, go ahead, but I will look that up. After the second admonition, Bible verse, Titus 3:10. Well, we were just talking about Titus, wasn't he? And it is in the King James in Bible Gateway for us. A man that is a heretic. Now, can you tell a lost sheep from a goat? Well, if you keep giving them the truth and they keep rejecting it, at least it's not your job anymore to tell them the truth. If they get it from somebody else, they get it from somebody else. But usually, if they're a heretic or are of a reprobate mind, they're going to keep refusing to hear you. Now, maybe they don't understand you because they've known you their whole life. You know that Bible verse about a prophet is never accepted in his own town or his own country? A prophet is never accepted in his own town. Bible verse. I butchered that. I'm sorry.
According to humancondition.com, Christ also said, "No prophet is accepted in his hometown." Luke chapter 4 verses 16 to 30.
And he said, "Verily I said unto you, no prophet is accepted in his own country." I can tell you that none of the people I grew up with the exception of 3 ladies that I've graduated with or graduated near, Lori was a few years younger than us, but Angie and Vicky, those are the only 2 people that are in this thread no males. I got guys I still know and hang out with. They don't want nothing to do with my Bible studies. And all the people from my hometown, they're all about Trump or they're liberals. So if they are going to get the truth, they're going to get it some other way. They're not going to get it from me because they know me too well. They know me too well. They know me when I was, not, somebody that was smoking funny cigarettes or selling everybody astrology or whatever back in the 70s and 80s. My astrology I didn't get into until the 80s and 90s, all the way through to 2012. Was I deeply into astrology. I will tell you that I knew more about astrology than anybody I ever met. I never ran into anybody personally that knew as much about astrology as I did. Seriously. So people that know me from that, they're not, so maybe the Lord will use somebody else. But after the second admonition, get moving, leave them alone. Because you know what? If they are goats, all you're doing is beating them up. You're just, it's an unfair fight. You've got truth, they don't, and you're just hammering over the head with them for something. They don't have eyes to see and ears to hear. A man that is a heretic after the first and second admonition, reject, leave him alone, knowing that he is such, is subverted and sinneth, being condemned of himself. All right, so anyway, we're done. Can you not just hear that enough? That's the creepy. Do you realize the times we're living in?
We're all cut from the same. Alexander the Great, Donald Napoleon, Alexander the Great, Donald Trump. We're all cut from the same cloth. And that cloth is very, very large. It's not too big, is it?
Wow. That's all I got to say. Folks, do you know the times you're living in? Pray for those people. Is there some lost sheep that are following QAnon right now? Yes, I guarantee it. Guarantee it. God will wake them up later on. But boy, are they ever knee deep in it like I was in the astrology and numerology and stuff. You're just knee deep in it. Knee deep. I'm going to go ahead and share this on YouTube. So I might just post it as I'll post it on Facebook too. But for y'all in the messenger who I used to tag in the comments, I'll just send you the YouTube version of it. All right, love y'all very much. Thank you. Sorry it was too long.